Fresh in the flesh. Where we at with it? What's up, though? This Kahn your buddy James. Shout out.
What up, though? This B-Boy Red.
I'm DJ Butter, y'all.
And this Funky Fresh in the Flesh.
We back to attack. My homeboy Kahn in the house, Metro Times, curator for Detroit hip-hop, Michigan hip-hop in general. All that, just hip-hop globally, you know what I'm saying? Right. Metro Times, Kahn, introduce yourself.
Kahn Davidson, Kahn Davidson, been a writer, photographer, mostly hip-hop, city of Detroit for the last 25 years.
Wow. So how did you get into it? Where it started that? Were you trying to be an artist first? Was this your career path? Like, where did you start?
Well, when I got in college, I had a professor, that told me I had a knack for writing. But like you said, I wanted to be a rapper. And I always tell people, man, back when, remember when artists would do in-stores? Anytime an artist would go on a tour, touring their project, they would come in town, go to the mall or the record stores. Right. They come in, they go to Justin's, Buy Right, Chauncey. So Redman and Method Man, it was the month of the man. Method Man had Sakal, Redman had There's Dark Side. It was the 94, 95. They came in Buy Right. I was there just happy getting my poster signed. Then a cipher started. Right. Redman go, thump, block, slop, block, block. And then some other dude goes, some dude, the Method Man go, the dungeon, and he looked at me. Right. And I'm like, no, I'm straight. But the thing is, at that time, I kind of loosely identified myself. Like, I didn't know I had rhymes, but that was like, all right, man. That was a moment. Like, he looked like it's your turn. Right. And I ain't have it. I was like, all right, that was a rap.
The source was like a newsletter or something like that.
Yeah. Source went from newsletter to magazine, probably, man, by 89, 90.
Yeah, it was before.
Yeah, it went fast.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Shout out to Cliff, Buy Right Records, 7 Mile,
Yeah, Cliff. Speaking of Cliff, they got, for a movement before we started rolling, man, and they got a section down there under the stage, a little display of pioneers, right, living and deceased, and Cliff is one of the people they got, a big, huge, picture, right, and a write-up about what Buy Right meant to DJs in this city as far as getting music, and him himself being a curator and producing the techno music. So it was dope. It's cool to see people while they still living, right, be acknowledged for what they did, man, in music in the city.
Especially here in the city, because it's like sometimes people from the outside give us more credit, more love than we do in the city. You ask people, you mention some names here in the city, they be like, who? And a lot of people don't even know where techno started and how it started in history.
Exactly.
That's right here in the city.
Exactly. And it's rich, man, that techno history. And a lot of people's favorite producer, man, Dilla was heavily into tech. Right. A lot of them songs were slowed down tech songs. He was known for going to a rave, just really to listen. Listen to sounds, listen to new things that he wanted to implement in his own music, man. Right. So, yeah, man, it was great. And Philly was another one they had down there honored. And, and this year I went to the, again, speaking of people that getting their flowers, man, even though he's deceased, but for them to have that 7 Mile and Revere, and they got the street sign, the amphitheater there, the sub street sign for him, dedication, man. It was beautiful, man, and it was heavily attended. Coleman Young Jr. was there. Councilwoman Rashida Tlaib was there. It was a block party, maybe 100, 200 people, man. It was nice to see him, his music, his legacy embraced on that level. Right. Man.
What was your experience like over the years, seeing because you cover pretty much all music, so seeing the influence on Detroit music, techno, the soul music, the Motown, all come together in hip hop. What's your view on Detroit hip hop, where it's at now?
To be blunt, right now, the street niggas winning. Right. Everything come in cycles, man. And the cats like Skilla, Baby Money, Vezo, of course, T. A lot of these guys are having the kind of wins at a national level and getting a lot of the public eye and attention that maybe the Street Lords, Rock Bottom, and Cheddar Boys never got.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because around that time, Slum and D12 was kind of the face of hip hop.
Right.
I'm saying this from an outside of Detroit looking into the bubble.
Right.
We live here. We understand how the Rock Bottom and Cheddar Boys and Street Lords and them had the clubs on lock, had the strip clubs on lock.
Right.
But at the same time, the hip hop shop was popping too. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
from the outside, when that narrative is told, they kind of identify late 90s, early 2000s hip hop with Slum and D12 and Elza and all them. But right now, again, things go in cycles.
Right.
Street man, trap dudes is winning.
Right.
They winning. And not only what people see, I hate the narrative of that people will say, well, they being chose. No, ain't being chose. It is very organic, man. I've interviewed these people's managers and worked for the labels, and I said, yo, like I remember I asked Beryl Lynn, who's Babyface Ray's manager, and I said, how'd you hear about Ray? And she said, Moneybagg Yo was always listening to him. And so I finally asked, who was she always listening to? He said, y'all know who Babyface Ray is? And everybody got a story like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I asked ATL Snake, yo, how'd you start working with V's? He said, I saw what it was early.
Right.
I saw it. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
it's not just they being chosen, it's that everybody's favorite rapper had a favorite Detroit rapper. Future had a favorite Detroit rapper. Lil Durk had a favorite Detroit rapper. Everybody's Young Thug had a favorite Detroit rapper. All of them, their peers was rocking with them before the industry was, and so it was very, very organic, man.
Right.
You think they collaborated a lot more. That
Hell yeah.
and I say it all the time, like the hip hop shop, the battling perspective of it all kind of put limitations to us, like you can't really label, you can't even really name a lot of people who put records out from the hip hop shop. So I think a lot of that competitive nature, we was caught into that more than just pressing the records up or doing shows and things like that. It could have been like in our economy time, it could have put a dent in our, the way. It's like, you harboring a battle rap from somebody that said something against you 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I think it really is, though? Because, we seen it in other areas, like on the West Coast, for example, or even down south with Master P and them. I think the street dudes came into it as a hustle. So it was like, we in this to get money.
Right.
Whereas a lot of the so-called backpackers or whatever, they was in it for the art form.
Right.
Whereas, you hear Too Short all the time say it, you know what I'm saying? Or E40, I don't freestyle. I'm in it to get paid, right? So I think the Detroit artists, going all the way back to Blade or even DMW and all, them guys was in it for the money, even though they respected the art form. But they came into the game with that intention. It wasn't to be the nicest MC on the mic in a freestyle battle. So I think now that this time period is supporting that, and then you can see it, and I think that's where they're getting the respect from too.
It's funny. Doughboy Cash Out, told me in an interview, they said that exact same thing.
Right.
Like, before they became rappers, they thought being a rapper was the wackest thing ever.
Right.
There was ain't be no rapper. You know what I mean?
Right.
Things went in that direction when it was just a crew.
Right.
A crew of kids hustling. Man, be no rapper.
Right.
They was hustlers first, and then eventually, man, one thing led to another, and they ended up rapping. But it is a different type of thing when you a hustler in the first and a rapper second, or you don't go in it from that perspective of art.
Right.
You know what I mean? You carry a different kind of swagger. But oddly enough, according to Jay-Z, that was his mindset.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Hey man, I
But it's who don't want to see their CD on the shelf? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think New York was different because rapping was always kind of cool in that era. even though you look back at the old videos, you had the rappers hanging with the hustlers,
Mm-hmm.
and they probably had that mindset at that time, the street dudes. But to them, music was an industry for them, so it was like the money right there. How could you not somebody telling my story and I'm living it? And Def Jam around the corner. Why don't I walk in there and tell my story on wax? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, here we didn't. I think the street dudes didn't originally have that access, so it was like, why would I rap? You know what I'm saying?
That's I think that's a great point. It wasn't like back then everybody had a studio in their room or in their basement and could just, like, man, I ain't going through all. I'm getting paid.
Right.
You talked about Motown being, actually here to this day, like finding hip hop and things like that. You think if that influence was here, it would have been a lot more people taking their rap career serious. Or
Well, I think if Motown had stayed, because it was really only a few years,
right,
which from when hip hop, as they say, sprouted in New York and came here, it wasn't that much time that passed.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But if they would have stayed and invested, because Motown was a major. I mean, they may maybe have been, I guess, maybe a smaller major compared to Universal, MCA, or something, but they was the biggest black-owned company.
Right.
Them and Johnson Publishing, who run Ebony Magazine, there wasn't nobody close as far as income and revenue with them two companies. So if Motown stays and say, all right, we see we want to be current, and they hire the A&Rs, let's double down on this. Let's invest in it. You know what I mean? I honestly think it would have been a New York, LA, and Detroit. We wouldn't have talked about as if it's just was two sides to the country before Atlanta's brought up. Detroit would have been in that conversation way earlier.
Right.
Again, if they would have got that investment, like, let me hire two A&Rs. I'm old. I don't know nothing about this hip hop. Give me 2-3 A&Rs, and here we go. Here's $5 million.
Right.
Yeah. Everything connected the same show, or Nat Morris and
you're not gonna tell me it's not a hit song when it came out of that. It's not a hit artist. That would not when it came out of that investment.
Right.
I refuse to believe all the talent here that wouldn't have came out, and it just would have lit a fire to everybody coming after that.
Right.
Even if they would have left eventually, still, man, it would have been that fire would have lit. That fire would have been.
Because then you would have had the independent Detroit labels would have had some connections. It would have branched off more.
And then you really would have had a real life business model to look at.
Right.
As far as we was we was crash coursing. Dudes was know how to break a record. Everybody was crash coursing. When I interview like Merciless and men talk about them early days, man, people was trying to figure it out. Man, it wasn't nothing there. Wasn't no template for it.
Right.
You know what I mean? We talking 89 and 90 and 91, 92, man, there wasn't no template.
Right. What? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Tell me about your most favorite cover story you did for Metro Times. I know what you did about 20-some cover stories.
It's been 30. It's been 31.
31. Okay.
Yeah, it's a few. For different reasons. Like, one, it wasn't a cover, man, but Baatin, man, touched my heart the most.
Yeah.
And this was a different time period because see now we a lot more forgiving when it comes with mental health and substance abuse. We didn't even use the phrase substance abuse.
Right.
10 years ago. You was a fiend, you was a crackhead, basically whatever term it was, that was it, and we wrote you off. If you had mental health issues, you was crazy, something wrong with him. You messed up in here. And that's when Baatin was going through what he went through. And then he was very transparent. He telling me, like, man, I smoke crack, wrote rhymes, or I got diagnosed with depression, schizophrenia, bipolar. Him jumping out of second story house in a crack house. They dare him to give you a crack while you jump out the window. He did it 3 times in a row till he broke his ankle. Right. So he was just transparent with his experiences and all that he was going through back at a time, man, when we were still looking down like, man, get this finger away from me.
Well, you mentioned Skilla Baby earlier. B-Boy Reg called me and was like, man, Skilla baby, the police and stuff was all outside of my window.
house. Yeah, so I got a rental property off of Aiden Beach. We just moved some stuff out of here. So one day I was over there and I'm like, well, all these police out here. So it was like, it was a shooting over here. Yeah, I seen on the news it was Skilla baby. And I'm like, damn. Then you look up, a couple of days later, he performing.
Yeah,
So I'm like,
what you think about that?
Man.
3 days later.
I think, man, Skilla baby, phenomenal artist, man. One of my better interviews. Good kid, man.
Yeah.
People, great backstory, smart kid. You know what I'm saying? And when I interviewed him, that might have been a year after he got shot the first time. You know what I'm saying? And he talked about this thing about it. He talked about, all right, this happened, like dang, and then he looking at his numbers go up.
right.
Like man, people getting followers. And he was like, shit, what the hell going on? You know, it was at that time, and so when this happened, first it didn't look like that. Like, oh shit, police talking about 20 rounds into the car. I'm like 20 rounds, and then but then when it comes out, okay, there was a graze. He got hit in the hand. I figured he was gonna pop out die. My gut feeling like Skilla not. He ain't the kind of person that's gonna run and hide. Right. You know, man. This show coming up is as at this point one of the bigger shows, Detroit hip hop shows of the spring. And so my gut feeling was like, yeah, I bet he gonna if he can, he gonna pop out. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, you gotta like I know it's people that's like, yo, I would have got Detroit, I would have did this, I would have did that. He still may do that, but I mean, honestly, man, this hip hop, man. If there's a moment out there to be had, go ahead and take your moment.
Right.
You know, this is what everybody's talking about. You know, he was in this done hit Shade Room, this done hit Baller Alert.
Right. For him to pray,
Yeah, this done hit. This done hit all of that. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, fuck, he went out there and took his moment. And like I said, this was I remember in the process of my interview, we was talking about how he got started writing and different things like that. And he was saying when he was in school, he was like 7th, 8th grade. Right. He had to memorize a Langston Hughes poem for school, and his mother helped him with the poem. He recited the poem right there, right in front of me.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And talked about when his father was older, like a grandfather age. Like, was strict, like one of them write this 20 times so you write it right type. We talked about and how all that affected his work ethic and all that affected his rhyme and him as an artist, and all that. So, yo, man, if there was ever anybody, I wanted to see win, but there was no doubt he ain't the kind of person that's not gonna hide out.
Right.
Like, he wasn't gonna come out for no reason, but there was a moment to be had, and to be honest, man, this is still hip hop and this is still business.
Right.
Yes, they better, man. He signed to a major. It better be a single. They better be fly him out to Cali, shoot the video out there, and put that shit out. Right. I mean, this is what it is, man. It's the man that owned the local news cycle for the last 48, 84 hours. I'm just being real. Just be real. He's on that news cycle, man. Shade Room, Ball Alert, every Detroit hip hop, man.
Let me ask you something too about artists. Do you, because you've been around from like print media and everything, and then seeing like all the internet podcasts, just all the different shows and different ways and platforms. Do you feel like there's something missing with, in your experience, artists not being media ready?
Oh, heck yeah.
Okay.
Because I say that because I would tell you right now, I have, even when I shouldn't have, I've made it a point to omit certain things. Like I said, I would never print nothing or write nothing that I feel maybe pits another artist against somebody else in a way that will cause violence or cause them to make something on site.
Right.
Because they said, well, if I see that nigga, I'm not doing that.
Right.
You can go tell him that yourself. I'm not putting it out there so somebody can go run to him and put a mic in front of him and say, we just read the Metro Times. Right. And he said, when he see, you know what I'm saying? Right. So that type of stuff I'll admit. Or If somebody, if people are on papers, so I've done interviews where there's people with firearms that's out, not out walk, but tucked in waistbands. There's people popping perks. Some you just gotta play it by ear, but no, like okay, I know from this interview, you still on probation.
Right.
You ain't supposed to be around nobody with no gun. So I'm not writing that. I'm not putting that out there that you was here.
So you gotta manage yourself.
Because nobody's telling these people this. They don't.
Right.
No, they don't know that. And I'll get a call sometimes even a year later. Hey, I said something. And can you change it, or can you take a certain picture down to Metro Time? But I was like, probably it don't work like that. Like they used to influencers saying, hey, take that IG post down you put up there. I ain't mean to say that like that. Like, real journal. You know what I mean? It's in print. It's there. It's there.
Right.
Kids understand
there ain't
that.
no delete button or no, you can edit it or nothing. Once it's printed, it's out there pretty much.
Yeah. So I don't want to send nobody back to jail. I don't want to be a part of initiating or triggering no beef between two parties. And so if I hear something, I'm like, nah, I'm not.
Right.
you know what I'm saying? That kind of stuff. But again, if they got media training, if they have a manager, I would tell you this. Most times if the manager is a young lady, that person will be there and do that.
Right.
They'll be like, nah, stop. Kahn, you didn't hear that part. All right, go ahead.
Okay.
You know what I mean? If I'm dealing with Chanel, if I'm dealing with Darlene, if I'm dealing with Lauren, if I'm dealing with Chantel, women way more. Sometimes when it's a dude, they might not even be paying attention to the interview.
Yeah.
If they artists. It just is. They just like, he got this. He do this all the time.
Right.
I like, so, but yeah.
So, like, because the reason I asked, it seemed like sometimes when you get an artist, like, if they're talking to somebody, let's say they're on a platform or with an influencer, they feel more comfortable, so it's like homeboy talk, right? Or homegirl talk.
Mm-hmm.
But the minute you see them get on like a national news station or somebody, original like talk show or something like that, it seemed like they get those one or two questions and they get stuck. And you can almost see it in their eyes where they wasn't ready for it.
Yeah.
They don't even know how to spin the question in. So do you think that's more of the artist not wanting to invest time in that and being prepared for interviews, or is that more of a management thing, saying, okay, I'm going to coach you up so you can be ready for anything they throw at you?
More of a management. I would tell you, like, a lot of questions they get stuck at with me. I say, okay, we got 20,000 niggas trying to rap in this city.
Right.
What's making you winning? So what's making you rise above this, this wave up here?
Right.
Everybody rock with you. What do you think you doing? What do you think that's inside of you that's making people like just like, yo, I got this. You got their ear. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes like, man, some people be like, I don't know. They do. Some people. But to what you say, I know offhand I'm going to sometimes different interview. Because, like, for instance, take a dude like Lando, man. Lando been interviewing a lot of these artists here years so they got any major popularity outside the east side or the west side.
Right.
You know what I mean? He got 10, probably 15 years of interviewing. So he's going to, when he does his podcast, he's going to get a different interview with me because essentially these are his friends and he's been rocking with them and supporting them for so long.
Right.
So they're not going to be as guarded. They're going to trust him and he's loyal. They've been rocking with each other. Right. Now they're going to come to me and it's like, man, it's the newspaper. What are you going to ask?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So sometimes the interview get better as they get warmed up. Right. You know what I mean? Most of the time I tell them, I said, listen here, 75% of what I'm going to ask you, you've already answered. I may ask you to unpack it a little bit more. You know what I mean? We can dig a little deeper into it. We can talk more about your music, but I promise you, most of this, in one way or another, you done touched upon all these different things.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, but I know it's important because I hear my interviews. I went on YouTube channels and people do these little bios of artists. Yeah. I'm going to introduce you to this person. And it's a couple. I done heard them almost and ask my questions in order that I wrote the article. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay.
Right.
But that's healthy. I mean, they learn it.
Yeah.
Just like, you the foundation for, it's just like me and Red's been doing interviews with guys where, like Jack Frost and those guys that, they starting to do more interviews now.
Mm-hmm.
But we dig and say, okay, let's get the legends now. It's cool to do certain things. So it's dope to see, the curating working. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then certain ones, like I tell you, talking about interviews that made an impact. I had got one of the first trick interviews after the whole thing, the no fly zone thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it just so happened because he was actually doing a concert. Metro Times back when they had big budget would do this thing, not a summer, it was some kind of fest, kickoff fest or whatever it was. He was the headliner. So I was already booked to interview him. It just so happened that had happened.
That happened, right.
You know what I'm saying? And so that was one of the, even though it was in print, that was one of the first times after the incident that he had publicly spoke on it. You know what I mean? And that was one of my first, I guess, interviews that it went about as Detroit viral as something could go for a print media. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Where everybody was talking, because again, he had never really spoke on it in any level. You know what I'm saying? And even then, even with print, they cut and chop quotes.
Right.
He trick says this, trick says that, and they get misconstrued.
Right.
Because people pull a line here, a line out of there, and like,
There's something else.
yeah, they get, and they turn it, they going on Facebook, going and just doing these hack jobs of it to make it something that it wasn't.
Let me ask you, have you ever did an interview with an artist and it was their very first interview, then you seen them later and they seem like a completely different person?
No, that hasn't happened.
Okay.
That hasn't happened. It hasn't been too many people I've gotten to first.
Okay. Right.
Especially now with this wave. I be trying.
Right.
You know what I mean? But everybody been cool, man. I can't say everybody been cool.
you haven't ran into Anita Baker or Aretha Franklin?
Nah, I ain't got too many of the. The only thing that's a little bit weird with the younger people is that, and I'm younger meaning I mean under 30, sometimes under 25. They see you in person, it's all love. They may even text you, but they may completely ignore you on social media.
Right.
Sometimes, or they may not respond.
Right.
You may text them like, "Yo, I'm trying to get in contact. You doing this show today?" They may never respond. You may text them some else 6 months later, they won't respond to that. Young people move different.
Yeah.
And I try to tell a lot of people in our generation that reach out to them for whatever reason to conduct business or contact, or just breaking bread, breaking ice with somebody. They didn't even respond. They F with me. Like, no, they don't mean he don't rock with you. Young folks just different. Sometimes they don't respond.
Yeah.
You don't mean they don't like you. Don't mean they got nothing against you. Sometimes they just don't respond. But when you see them, they're like, man, God.
Right.
You don't even bring it up because it be all love, bottles, shots, man. You reach out to them a little later, you may respond, they may not.
Yeah, and then we gotta understand too, like, if you're an artist, sometimes somebody else running your account. So you're not even seeing all the messages in real time. So we gotta give them some grace when it comes to that too. So
Yeah. I had that kind of conversation a lot with the people when I reached out to them. He ain't even I went up and I'm like, man, people, you'll be surprised who rock with you or who listen, who you inspired.
right.
Even if they're trying to act too cool or too hard to like really tell you,
Right.
man, y'all be surprised.
Yeah.
Well, I got another 2 more.
Go ahead.
I know you interviewed some of the BMF cast.
Yeah, over the years, yeah.
Since the brand kind of been smeared a little bit, and how they try to continue it now. What's your take on that?
Man, it's funny you ask. I interviewed Miles Stewart, who plays B. Mickey, and I interviewed Da Vinci, who plays Terry, and I interviewed the executive producer, Heather Zolke. They business as usual. This is my 3rd year doing the BMF press run.
Okay.
And they right on. They excited. The season is gonna be this. It's gonna be that. We got action. We went even harder on it. Excuse me. There was no signs of it slowing down. No talking about this is the last season. Nah, it was like we lit. We got this live over here. It was even better energy probably than it was the couple years before. So they didn't make Lil Meech available. I had interviewed him the previous 2 times. So they tell you who's available. And then you pick a slot, you do Zoom interviews, stuff like that, the press run. So he wasn't available. I didn't ask. You take what you can get. That's who's available, so you can interview, talk about it. But I didn't get any no negative vibes at all.
Okay.
Nothing. They got a lot vested into this season, and they said it's gonna be dope.
Yeah, I think part of that. Just looking at how all of that happened, like with 50 and everything. I think part of that was to build more hype around the show. Because when you think something gonna end, you definitely gonna tune into it more. And that's just my opinion, because it's like, oh, this is the last season, I gotta watch it, even though it's not really the last. We've seen other series and stuff kind of do the same thing, like the last of Game of Thrones, so everybody tune in, then you find out it may not be it's not really the last. So sometimes you gotta look beyond what
it could
on the surface.
It could be, but I know they give us, the journalists, a couple previews for the first couple shows, and I can't say it picks up where they left off at the end of the season, where they go to Mexico to break Loco out of jail. The one thing I did know, and they said it was that was based on a true story. So anybody with any BMF history, I'm intrigued to what is the real story behind that.
Right.
Cause and they said it's a story they've been sitting on for a long time, and they finally decided to flesh it out, the Mexico story, as they call it. I'm like, what is this? Like, you like me, I done heard every Al Prophet, every video. I've never heard that story. I want to hear the what transpired. Like, did they really go to break the plug out of jail in Mexico one night? What? I would have like, what is? What's the true version of that one, man? Somebody got to know.
Let me ask you, speaking of that, because me and Butter was talking one time, and you see these dudes come home, maybe they was big, they do time, and then they come out. My opinion was like, dude, stay off the internet for a while, kind of fill out the landscape of how social media is, because it's different than when people was out back in the early 2000s. Social media is crazy. So what's your opinion for somebody like maybe been gone for 20 years, 15 years, just coming back out, and they got a reputation? Should they stay on social media for a while, or what? How should they reintroduce themselves back to the world?
Honestly, as crazy as this sound, if they have children, either let your kid run your account or run all your posts past them.
Right.
I mean, I'm serious.
That's why.
You got a teenage daughter, you got a gold mine.
Yeah.
Just ask her. I was thinking about posting. What you think about this?
Yeah.
I do it to my daughter, but like, all right, man, I need some hashtags for this. I want to post this. What hashtag should I add? Well, let me see if I'm. Here you go, Dad.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I honestly, because it's their world.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It is their world. My youngest son is a streamer. He full time. He make his bread, pay his rent, and and I was telling people like, listen, man, these young folks, this is the generation. Y'all remember back in the day when kids would watch other kids on YouTube play with toys?
Yeah.
These kids in their 20s now.
Yeah.
So their whole lives, they've interacted with their peers on the screen. Their whole lives, their peers have been used as a form of entertainment and content. And this exchange of energy through screens.
Right.
So to us, this is still weird. Like, you watching somebody stream about what? They live. What they doing when they live? What are they talking? You know what I mean? Right. But for them, this is how it's always been. These 2008 YouTube babies, this is how it's always been. This is what they know. So you somebody, you done been away, and you gotta and you look up and somebody giving you a phone, and you got 20,000 followers. Actually, talk to your kid.
Yeah, shut it down. Yeah.
Don't post. Don't go live. Don't put that in your story. Take a long. Just pay attention. Talk to your kid first.
Yep.
learn. Don't respond to nobody.
Yep.
Don't. just relax.
Cause I see dudes. One is hard if you being away, cause like we had a chance to, we're living it as it's growing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, the kids don't know anything different, but we adapted because we seen it grow. But if you've been away and then you come back, like you said, somebody had 20,000, 30,000 followers, then all of a sudden, you don't know what you're saying is real to you because this is how you grew up and this is how you view the world. But the world is completely different now. So even like some of the words we used back in '99, you can't even say no more.
No, and it's amplified. Just look how now, if you go on ESPN, you go on any news site, it's ESPN, even CNN, a tweet or Instagram caption is a news story.
Right.
That wasn't the case 10 years ago.
Right.
LeBron James tweets support for Angela Reese.
Yeah.
That's a news. There's a journalist that had to write a 100-word article about LeBron James making a tweet.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's interweaved. It's different. The tweets and posts mean a lot. And the more and people, the whole thing, when you get any certain burst of fame, when you get to it, man, they pay somebody to sit there and go through everything you ever posted. You know what I mean? Kind of fish for something a little crazy.
Right.
That's when you be getting them, because they get the white kids up all the time.
Yeah.
They found a tweet when they was 15 quoting some Young Thug lyrics. Yeah, man, you know what I mean? Little Bobby sitting there, nigging it up. He was listening to Lil Wayne.
Right.
And next thing you know, I was like, he just said the air word. Yeah. We got him in 5 different tweets. Like, man,
campaign over.
Yeah.
We got one more for you, Kahn.
Yeah.
What's your favorite hip hop album of all time? Local and national.
Ooh, local easy, national easy. Tribe Called Quest, Midnight Mirage. And for no other reason, I played it the most. That's my criteria, because people overcomplicate these questions. Man, what you played the most when it was out? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That was your favorite. You can, like for instance, my second was probably Southern Playalistic Outkast. And people say that wasn't even the best Outkast album. It's the one I played the most.
Right.
It's the one got the most scratches on the back. I played the shit. Midnight, I played it. Man, I played that album front to back every day. You know what I'm saying? Even now, I don't think 2 weeks goes by I don't play a song off there. You know what I'm saying? I can't give you any other answer be disingenuous. I'm trying to be fancy. I'm trying to be bougie with it. Well, when you know what I'm saying, you a fan. No. What you play the most?
The album cover was dope too.
Yeah, it was.
And you know how you know your favorite album when like a song come on and when that song go off, even if they play it on the radio, in the back of your mind you already know what song coming on next because you so used to hearing the album. When you hear the song on the radio, you like, oh, what you call it ain't coming on next. So
I know.
Yeah, you play it that much, it programs into your head.
Locally.
You took a minute to get that.
Yeah. It's either Dice the 40 Made Me Do It.
Wow.
Or you say whole albums. That one, if you would have said songs, I would have said Maestro on the Flex.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Cause see, I was never a kid that turned my back to Detroit hip hop. I got in Detroit hip hop right alongside LL Cool J and Slick Rick. I'll go up to Detroit Audio and just ask them what was new. I got my little allowance money. What's new? I bought Jake the Flake. I ain't nothing about Flint.
Yeah.
Everybody buying this. What's it? Jake the Flake. All right, I get it too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? All right, that's how. But Maestro on the Flex, man, I was like in 7th, 8th grade.
Yeah.
And I was listening to that and like NWA and Sir Mix-a-Lot. And it was in my little tape my little Walkman rotation. You know what I'm saying? Nah, you good. So that was, man, that, but whole album still, Sun Village, Fantastic Voyage, Volume 2, that money. That was a whole, like, you just put a CD on, man, you just let it spin.
Fantastic too, yeah.
Yeah, you just let it, from a whole album, you just let it spin. You let it spin. And that was one of them albums, you know how certain songs, if they come on in a certain place, you know you in the right place. You go to get coffee somewhere, and you hit players. Okay, I'm in the right place. I'm in the right place. Okay, this is cool.
One last one for Kahn. I got a one trick one for you.
Okay.
Who you want to see on the cover of Metro Times? Your top 3.
Ooh, that we haven't. You know what? Well, even though I interviewed Boldy, I want to see Boldy on the cover.
Yeah.
I do. I would want to see him on the cover. I wanted to be a cover story, but it was okay. Sometimes, it don't work out like that. But I think, man, he one of the most phenomenal rappers in the D. Can rap in any lane, on any beat, for anybody at any time. You know what I'm saying? And probably is low key about it is that he's phenomenal with his language in almost in the E40 type way. Yeah. Boldy can tell you, I interview Boldy. Boldy can tell you a story about some shit that should have got him put in jail, but can tell you that story very clearly where you understand that he's not incriminating himself. Right. Based on how he uses his language, his visualization and metaphors. Yeah. But you might not even know the meta, but you know the energy he put with it. And you just know what he's talking about. And he raps the same way. I never have to look up a Boldy lyric because you know how he telling the story, what is going on. And he's the only person I can say that about. Right. Like I said, at that, I really wish that would have been a cover. Second one, man, we brought this up, Jason Wilson.
Yeah.
You know what? Jason Wilson, him and my girl Kalima. They used to be Nikki D and then Ebony and Her Business. Yeah. My thing is, man, we the generation, our parents and grandparents were so worried about us. You know what I mean? Yeah. Oh, that rap, y'all, the cussing. Yeah. Y'all ain't gonna be, you're ruining your life, man, like, hip hop has produced some phenomenal human beings, man. This city, man, you look at what Jason is done with his academy. You look at what Kalima has done with women that have been victims of intimate partner violence and various things. Like, man, come on, those like this is what they don't, and they are as hip hop gets. Right. All of them, man, helped lay the foundation in this city early on, man, with phenomenal records. So, and Jason, I've interviewed Kalima a couple times, but Jason is somebody that he should be on the cover, man, because like I said, people don't understand, like, we ain't ruining ourselves with this, and people don't give us enough credit. You know what I mean? Michael Eric Dyson, remember the whole book Between God and Gangsta Rap was just trying to explain to his peers why we listen to rap music. Yeah, it was y'all know. They were so worried about listening to Eshine. What they? Oh my God! Like we good. We got families. We got mortgages. We doing all right. Us and our rap music. Like chill out. So yeah, but that Jason, that would be definitely. And the last one, even if it's on the cover, man, will be M. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Because I've never had an Eminem interview. And I've never heard nobody from Detroit ask him the kind of questions I want to ask him. You know what I mean? As it relates to music. You know what I'm saying? I never feel like people really talk beats and bars with him like that. You know? And for all credit, if anything anybody has to say about him, good or bad, I would say the most amazing thing I've just observed is that he has 3 different fan bases. He has a fan base that just want hip-hop M. Hip-hop shop M, battle rap M. That's all they want. They don't want nothing else. They want, and you see him pop up online. He have a song, he rapping now, this thing we want. But then he got Anthem M. They just want I'm Not Afraid, Lose Yourself. That's all they want. They want all the big anthems, and that's all they hear. But then they got Slim Shady M. You know, a lot of the gothic white kids, a lot of them. They just want Slim Shady. There's a lot of like all three, but always when I encounter people, most people like one of those three strands of hip hop more than the other two.
Right.
And I ain't gonna lie, I like hip hop and anthem M.
Right.
I'm hip hop. I'm much more boom bap M and anthem M than I am Slim Shady M.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's my personal. But so when people talk about like, yo, like, man, how he still stream like that? Because he has 100 million people in each of these. That I'm telling you, there's people that still got Lose Yourself, and I'm Not Afraid, and to My Lungs Give Out, to
Anthems.
Yeah, they got that on every playlist, every workout playlist, motivational playlist. Like, yeah, he's straight, man. So them the kind of, again, I like talking about music, man. So that would be, for me, I haven't had an M interview, and that'd be the kind of conversation I want to have.
Yeah, y'all gotta get Jason Wilson, Maestro on the flex.
Yes.
I want to see.
You need to have him. You need to interview Jason, man. You know what I'm saying?
I ran into him at a Pistons game. It was funny because we just interviewed Chaos, I think like that Tuesday, and then I was at a Pistons game that week, and I ran into him. I was like, man, we just interviewed Chaos, and I took a picture with him. He was like, oh, for real? Then like a couple weeks later, I think one of the colleges, somebody had like a speaking event, and they both was on it, and it was just good to see them.
Yeah, because Chaos, he his own self.
Yeah,
He's a phenomenal speaker. Does a lot with the community. You know what I mean? It's just good to see, specifically us and black men, that with those hip hop roots, you know, out here making a difference in the community at a high level and getting acknowledged for it. You know what I'm saying? And I know his time behind the mic is so far that I'm sure a lot of people that still rock with him and work with him ain't like us that didn't even know how locked in he was in the role he played in the music fabric of the city.
Day one.
You know, I mean, that whole, what was that, World One?
World One.
That whole crew, man, that was...
Raw Dog.
That was it.
Yeah.
That was it. That was our Motown.
That was as rock hard, as steady, as nice of a crew as you get.
Yep.
That, you know what I'm saying? It was nice.
Yep.
Nice. So, hey, man. So understanding him in that space and where he's at now, man, I think it's phenomenal, man.
Yeah, I want to see Nat Morris and R.J. Walker's on the cover together with some City Slicker Broadway gators on.
That would be epic.
Yeah,
that would be epic.
Yeah.
We
You
appreciate
gotta have
your
Wanda
time.
on there with him.
Huh? Wanda?
You gotta have her on.
Miss Energy and all
Yeah.
that. Oh, Medina.
Yeah, oh, man. We're going back.
Thank you, Kahn, man.
Oh, man, thank y'all for having me, man. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.
Yes.
I appreciate both y'all time, man.
We just dropped the bomb with my man Kahn.
Yes, sir.
Fresh in the Flesh, Metro Times. Thank y'all again, man.
Peace out.
Peace, y'all.
He's